Well, welcome back, Mystic Travelers. This is Jazz. I'm so glad you're here. We're getting all cozied up. It's getting a little chillier here. All right. So today we're going to dig into some deeper work as usual. This channel is mainly focused on spiritual messages and readings. First thing I do is I pick a mystical text or sometimes like today, I picked a poem that just has such a mystical feel to it, a mystical background that just works perfectly for our reading today. And I also gaze into the black mirror beforehand. I said sometimes I'll do tea leaves, but lately I've been really feeling my black mirror. So we'll talk about which images I got today. Today, the poem or the reading that we're going to read is called Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloodied but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I could just let that hang in the air. It's so powerful, right? The images today from the Black Mirror were a healthy green vine growing around a withered dead tree in a sort of a quiet, peaceful place. It was kind of like gray, almost like the background and the ground was washed out. Peaceful. The other image today from the Black Mirror was a very slender silver tower rising from the ground, which was covered with beautiful green grass. There was no nothing else man-made around it. It was almost like it was like in a field or something. And it was rising up so high, I couldn't see it. And the sky was blue with a few clouds. It was quite spectacular. Kind of made me think of when people talk about like Atlantis or Lemuria or whatever. So that was pretty interesting. So we'll take those into consideration as we do our reading. I've got a lot of decks laying around today. I couldn't quite decide which one I want to do. And I just wanted to say ahead of time, I get really shaky sometimes when I get hypoglycemic. So if you see that, just don't mind it. It's just part of, I'm definitely having what I need to have. I just get a little shaky. So I've got a lot of decks today, and I was going to see which ones I kind of felt. This is the archetype deck, my Dixit cards for sure, my tea leaf cards for sure. And I think I'm feeling, let's see, so the Dixit cards, we'll do one archetype card to kind of get us in the groove. Look at that. I wasn't even going to pull yet, but oh no, which one is it? It's this one. I wasn't going to pull yet, but sometimes the cards just do their thing. Tea leaf cards. I draw them from we're just having jumpers today, aren't we? I draw them from a bag usually because there's different color cards and I don't want my eye to be drawn to a particular different color card. I guess we're just going to draw as we go then, huh? It's already jumping. The message is definitely eager to come and speak to you. Out of the night that covers me. I think we all have those moments, maybe a lot of those moments, where we really feel overwhelmed with life, where we feel hopeless, like everything that's going on around us is out of our hands. This is the Kitsune Oracle. Put it this way. And we forget that while outside circumstances, look at that. This is from a different deck. This is from the Rumi Oracle. I guess I'll pull it and see. I don't know how it ended up in here. But hey. So we forget that while external circumstances, I think I'm going to use this Phantasma Tarot today as our guiding. And we'll take one card. This is from an I Ching deck. There's a lot of red going on today. All right, a lot of cards today, so we'll just get right into it. Oh, but we think a lot about external circumstances and how they control our lives, and it's absolutely true. I mean, if you can't eat, if you can't meet the basic needs on Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, which is shelter, food, you know, all that, it's going to really affect your life seriously. But sometimes there are circumstances like that that we cannot control. So what do we do at that place? Well, this is where the inner journey comes in. Saint Teresa of Avila talked about the interior castle. So how is your interior castle? What are you building? So let's get started. The fault line. You know, what I'm feeling here, especially with that poem, the poem saying, you know, in a lot of ways, he talks about kind of the darkness, the crack. We have this idea of brokenness, but a fault line isn't exactly where the earth is broken. It's another place where the earth is rebalancing, right? And sometimes you have to go through the horror, as he says, beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. I think of that a lot about in Buddhism. They say like that we die and are reborn every moment because there is no such thing as the past. Alan Watts says the past is like the wake of a ship. It's something that you can see the effects of, but it's not really, the ship's not there anymore, right? And so in Buddhism, they talk about it like that every moment you're a new person, right? So there's like a trillion yous throughout your life, every single millisecond, you know, and well, we'll get more into that. But basically, this is reminding me of the vine growing around the tree from the Black Mirror, because the vine growing around the tree, the dead tree, shows a spark of life in a place that's desolate. A fault line might destroy things if there's an earthquake. But once things are destroyed, this very tower-like, right? Once they're destroyed, what happens? Stuff starts growing. Nature recovers, right? You recover. People recover. And while sometimes, and a lot of times, there's so many external circumstances that define who we are, where we can go, the true defining, the true moment when you realize that you are the power. You can't control the outside of things. The Dalai Lama says something along the lines of like, you don't ever need to worry. Easier said than done, of course. You don't ever need to worry, because if there's something you can do about it, then do something about it. And if it's a thing that's happening and you can't do anything about it, then why are you worrying? Because all it's going to do is give you stress and bring down your vibration. And blah. Of course, every time I'm quoting someone, just paraphrase. I'm sure the Dalai Lama didn't say blah, blah, blah. So, all right. Since this Rumi card came out, Whirling Goddess. Look at that. Oh, so beautiful. This is an amazing deck. Such beautiful artwork. I'm going to slide that there. Whirling Goddess. You know, I think a lot about, you know, Sufi mystics, Hafez, Rumi, of course. You know, the dervishes will dance, they'll spin, this twirling, whirling dervishes. Beyond that, past the fault line is the inner goddess or God, you know, non-gendered here, your inner deity. And it brings back to the poem, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So instead of worrying what is down the line, what's going to happen, remember one thing. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. And not just that, quantum physics and stuff, like I can't get big into it. I'm not like, you know, super familiar, but I have the basic philosophical concepts down. But basically the idea, so first of all, Rumi says the wound is where the light enters you. So we can't become and get into this deity energy in ourselves until we have faced and dealt with our shadow work, with those things in us that we're afraid of, right? And on top of that, in quantum physics, they talk a lot about the idea, well, like, I'm sure you guys have heard of the double slit experiment, where basically light existed as both a wave and a particle at the same time. And of course, I'm sure I'm messing that up, but you get the idea. But basically, it didn't decide what shape it was going to take as a wave or a particle until it was observed. So therefore, our observation of our life, our perspective of our life, our conscious attention is what brings things to your inner world, which then reflects in your outer world. You are passion and ecstatic motion. Passion and ecstatic motion. The world is full of people with worn out hearts, and you can see it in their eyes. But I always saw it like this. So I had a narcissistic father, extremely narcissistic, like malignant narcissist, and very, 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 like the most toxic you could think of. And I always saw it's like he had a light in him when I was younger, the same light that the spark, you know. In Judaism and Kabbalah, they talk about there was the vessel and it exploded and the sparks spread throughout, and there's a spark in everything, including these cards and this, you know, flower and this little cute pumpkin thing. No matter what it is, the spark exists in everything, even man-made things like this, right? Well, he had a spark. He was passionate. He was a great storyteller. We would stay up late having these great conversations about life, the universe, and everything. But he got so caught up in his own drama and his own need to fulfill these dark needs that he had, of the control, being a narcissist and everything, that over the years, I started picturing this thing in my head, which is like that he had this light, and he was covering it in thick mud, thick mud. And then he was just never recognizable when he was an older man. There was no light left. There was no spark left. It's not because it was gone. It's because he had buried it so deep under his own trauma, to the point that he had become such a malignant narcissist. And, you know, he got to a certain age, I was like, he's never going to dig himself out. You know, I hoped he would, but he was never, you know, at that point, he was so invested in his own lies, right? It was too easy for him to blame the world, his traumatic past. It was too easy for him to blame that, instead of saying, I am the captain of my fate. I am the master of my soul, which I got that backward, but you know what I mean. And he in turn became that abusive person who spread even more abuse onto his family than he even received. He made the cycle worse. And of course, me and my siblings, we were breaking it. Transcendence. You know, I feel like the transcendence in this, with this kitsune, with the whirling goddess, you have such powerful, I mean, and even a fault line, you've got this, these are like cosmic energies, right? Oh, I know you can feel it in your soul right now. I feel it, this cosmic energy. Even the quiet of the tree with the vine wrapped around it. Oh, isn't that just cosmic energy? To transcend your fear of the unknown, no matter what, like in the poem, it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment, no matter whether you're going to get rewarded or punishment, to work on your transcendence. Even when your head is bloodied, you still raise your head up, you do it again. You, no matter how much the world pours mud on your spark, you're never going to pour it on your own ever again. You are the master here. You are the whirling god or goddess. You are transcendent. And this cosmic, this kitsune, look, it's cutting through, and you can see the whole universe behind him. Acceptance. Wow. You know, when it comes down to it, I feel like this has to do with discernment as well. Acceptance isn't just being like, ugh, I accept it. Okay, fine. It is what it, I mean, it can be that. It's more like, you know what? I accept that there are things out of my control. I accept that what is in my control is all I can really change. And I'm not going to worry and waste my life away in this very low vibrational energy when in me is a whirling goddess or God. When I am transcendent inherently, I don't have to do anything to be transcendent. I am transcendence. And sometimes it takes a big shakeup. I'm getting very tower energy with that. The tower, but all this peace afterwards, almost like the star, right? The star after the tower. There's a quiet beauty to the rest of this reading so far. Let's see what else there is to add. As we know, these Dixit storytelling cards like to be a little rough, so we'll go ahead and do those. Same thing with tea leaves. They can go either way. Oh my goodness, we got this one last week. What? We did. We got that one last week. Ooh, I love this one. Let's see it a little closer. It's a woman. Her body is a cello. She's playing music. And if you look here, you can see little people. I don't know if they're dancing or... I'll better show this one up close too. All right. So person planting plants. They seem to be growing instantly, and they seem to be like carnivorous plants, like pitcher plants. Things like that. Ooh, we have a sort of a demonic figure coming out of the dice. All right. I get this feeling of, especially with the image that I saw earlier in the Black Mirror of the silver tower, I get this feeling of like technology playing an interesting role in your life, in our lives. The idea that we forget that technology is a gamble. And with it, we can either do good things and improve our lives, or it can get us mired and tangled up. And why am I talking about technology all of a sudden? All this other stuff's about very esoteric, ethereal. I feel drawn back to that beautiful tower, the one that's unbroken, the one in my mirror, because it looks like a tower from a civilization that has learned to balance nature, technology, and ethics, right? And that's where, that is the universe we want to create. That is the world we want to align our energies with. So some people believe in manifestation in the sense of bringing stuff to you. Some people believe in manifestation in the sense of like aligning your energy with the parallel universe or dimension that you want to be in. But of course you can't just, I mean, some people say you can, but I would say you probably just can't jump from here to that universe. But what you do is you make micro changes every single day. So there's this idea and some Christian ideologies that says when you die, you're asleep until the end of time, and then God raises you from the dead, and you are judged, right, for all your actions. And I thought about that, being a mystic, I think about a lot of different paths. But one of the things is, why? Why would the deity, the creator, why would God wait till the end of time? And to me, it's because of the ripples. Whatever you do every single day, it has a ripple effect on everyone and everything, right? So not until the end of time will the true ripples of what you've done ever be truly known. Now, do I believe in judgment and stuff in that context? No, but I love it as a thought experiment. When you are able to plant the true seeds, and that it means that you are aligning your thoughts, your words, your the things you do, your actions, and thoughts, words, actions. Oh, and obviously your emotions. So I guess if you can get your words, your thoughts, and your emotions together, then you can create inspired action that can help you balance your life in such a way that when the day comes, actually, you know what? It doesn't even matter if it's when the day comes, when you have to face the horror of the shade, as Henley says. Every single day that you can stand up brave and be your own music, be your own light. Look things like these challenges in the eye and not flinch away or fear, because you are so strong in yourself and who you are. You are this transcendent being. And even when you get led astray, it's all for a purpose, right? It's all to teach you. How many times in your life have you had something like a breakup or something that turned out to be the best thing ever? Because when you were in those emotions, maybe you were aligning with their negativity, or maybe you were just so clouded by the situation that you got confused, right? So don't gamble with your attention, because what you give your attention to is what grows, right? If you give your attention and you're always trying to fix a toxic relationship, then your personality is going to become the person who fixes the toxic relationship. If your attention goes towards, oh, I am a goddess, and no matter what I do, even when I'm making mistakes and stuff, I am in that goddess energy or God energy, then even when the things outside of you break, you're transcendent inside. You accept things for how they truly are, not how you wish they were, right? Dog, protection from a powerful friend. Younger man, dealing as a relationship with a younger man. Ladder, climbing towards success. Wind chimes, peace and harmony. Wow, what validation, right? You are protected. Even, okay, so as a person who suffered extreme abuse as a child, I'm not going to get into the details, but just say it was extreme, and it lasted decades. From the time I was born till I was able to escape at age 23. Even through all that, I felt protected. Protection's not always a physical thing, right? Protection can be a spiritual thing, right? When you're dealing with the people around you. I feel like this younger man energy is coming in because there is we're in a moment of time when the divine masculine is being purposely repressed, oppressed, right? we've defined this limited masculinity as being like, well, whatever, certain people on podcasts tell a man they're supposed to be. And then a lot of them are getting mad at women because women are just trying to, or the divine feminine is just trying to do its thing and not be put into a box. But what a shame for those men to also be put in that box, because now they have they've given their permission to these other people and their ideologies to take over being the master of their soul. So they are no longer the master of their soul. There's toxic stuff in all the communities, but I think that this perversion of the divine masculine is so limiting. It's such a shame, because not only are, in this context, they've handed over their power to somebody else, someone they don't even know probably, but they're robbing themselves of such beautiful, full emotions, a full life, if they could just not be scared of embracing the entire spectrum of the divine masculine. And that, once again, gender, go back and forth however you feel comfortable. But I feel like that this is a message. If there has been a divine masculine in your life, or it's even you, that has been mired down by other people's idea of masculinity, in the same way that the divine feminine can get very mired down in the limiting divine feminine, right? But just remember, I love that we got this ladder and wind chimes. It's like you're protected, climbing towards success, peace and harmony. Remember, these are challenges. Whenever something hurts within emotionally, or you feel dis-ease in a relationship, anything like that, it's not a punishment, it's an alarm bell that something is off. And what happens is we're taught as young people to override our intuition so much, especially women, for like out of politeness, like, oh, I don't want to be rude, and then end up in really bad trouble, right? Getting hurt or something. So it's so important to listen to that intuition. And you might have to dig it back out, and you're going to have to learn how to discern intuition from fear. So like, for example, years ago, I was riding a car with my mom. I was probably like 16, and we came up to this like 4-way intersection, really, really busy. And as we were pulling up about a minute from it, I was like, I have the worst feeling. I felt like I was going to throw up. I'm like, can we please go home, Mom? Can we please go home? She's like, no, you're being silly. We got up to that intersection, and there was a drive-by shooting right there. A black SUV shot and killed somebody in a car and then raced off. And I, at that moment, trusted my intuition. But because she doubted it, I'm sure that planted seeds, because that kind of stuff happened all the time, right? Maybe not as dramatic as that. That's one of the more dramatic things like that. But also a little prayer out to that family and person who went through that. It's been like 30 years, but peace and harmony, climbing towards success. Climbing towards success, and the ladder. The ladder makes me think of that beautiful tower. So when we get hopeless about the world at large, because this is such a cosmic thing. It's, well, you understand fractals, I'm sure, which is like basically the microcosm reflects the macro, as above, so below. So like if you look at a tree, then the branches like maybe fork off this way, and then from that branch it forks off that way, and from that little tiny twig forks off that way. It mimics itself all the way up, right? Up and down. Your brain looks like a galaxy, and things like that. The great taming and opening. Creating success, constancy bears fruit. No, not eating at home, good fortune, fruitful to cross the great river. The great taming and opening. This makes me think a lot of when we move from instinct or from impulse to intuition. there's a matter of taming yourself, but it doesn't mean, I think a lot of times we take that in such a way that taming ourselves means restriction, but really taming yourself means openness, right? You're not taking away any of yourself. You're fully accepting all of you, right? But you're not letting the coarser, more violent aspects of yourself take control. You're learning how to siphon off your shadow energy in a healthy way, right? And so on the back here, it says, how can you make the most of your potential? How can you fully enjoy this moment? What if you communicated and exchanged more freely? Maybe taming sometimes feels like when, let me see what this is. When you limit yourself, like, so for example, I talked about in the last video about like your shadow bag and how you pick up things throughout your life and how they stop you from doing things you want to do because you're like, oh, I was told when I was a kid that the drums were too loud, so now I associate playing drums with failure or something like that. And so on here when it says, what if you communicated and exchanged more freely? Taming yourself is sometimes taming your fear. If you're scared for people to see who you really are because you're afraid that who you really are isn't going to be accepted, then you're not going to take the chances that will lead you. The universe constantly gives us opportunities, like that story where the guy is drowning and he says, God, please please save me. And a boat comes by and they're like, let me help you. And he's like, no, God's going to save me. And that happens 2 more times. And then he drowns and then he goes to heaven and he's like, God, why didn't you help me? And he's like, I sent you 3 boats. So how are we standing in our own way when it comes to creating the life that we want to create, transcending? You know, it's kind of funny. I was thinking a lot about this the other day, which is about, I was thinking about Empress energy or Emperor energy, however you want to, think about it. And the idea that we're sitting here mired down in this playing field, people are playing all these games, especially if you date or even in friendships and stuff. Sometimes there's drama, there's games, and so much of it is manufactured. How much of it is manufactured by our own fears, our own thirst for drama, because it's what we're used to seeing. You see this when people are in unhealthy relationships all the time, whether it's a friendship or not. So I was in a trauma bond. I just mentioned it. I might have mentioned another video before. And what I figured out was this, and it was with an avoidant, not a narcissist, but it was with an avoidant. I figured this out. I was like, oh, why am I playing this game? I'm down there mired in it, telling myself that I'm above this because I see what's going on and I'm trying to fix it. But no. The only time that I was able to get out of that was when I stepped off the playing field. I was the empress. I stepped into the box above the field and I was like, I can watch this without getting mired down in this manufactured nonsense, right? So I would say the cards are calling for you to take a look at your life. What's real? Think about what he says. You are the master. You can't blame anyone else for your interior castle. Now, have they influenced it? Yes. Like I said, did 23 years of systemic abuse change my interior castle? Yes. But now that I'm an adult, for the last 20 years, I've been doing everything I can to cleanse that inner castle and make it a home for myself and not a reflection of who my parents were. And there's a great poem, maybe we'll do it next, by Khalil Gibran called On Children. And basically it says, stop trying to make your children like you. In fact, you should be more like them. They belong to a world that you'll never know. So why are you trying to make them just like you? Right? Okay, let's see what else the cards. So yeah, take yourself off the playing field. Don't get mired down in that. Keep your eye on the prize. And the prize is you. You are the prize. You and your growth in this human form, at your experiences, because that's part of it too, right? 10 of Cups. Wow. Look at that. I feel like you're on the verge of some kind of big breakthrough. I mean, this is such an auspicious reading. It's such an auspicious reading. The Knight of Cups. The Seven of Wands. The Fool. You're about to round out one part of the Fool's journey. What did I say earlier? The Star. And the Knight of Pentacles. A lot of Knight energy here, right? Okay. Yes. A very auspicious. It's interesting that I laid the cards out like this. We still have this challenge here. Okay. Next to the Seven of Wands. I feel like these plants almost mimic this card up here, like carnivorous plants. And although this looks scary, that bat is flying above it, right? This isn't like the other, like, so this is exactly what I was just saying about, like, get above the fray. This stuff, you don't have to be impaled on other people's drama, do you? You don't have to gamble with your self-respect. You don't have to gamble with your soul. You don't want to push this shit off to the next life. Let's do it now. I got a whole episode about that coming up. About how to improve your life now in order to make your transition easier way later. 10 of Cups. Coming home to yourself. And this Pentacle energy for me, I'm sorry, Knight energy, Knight of Cups, Knight of Pentacles. It's showing me adventure. And adventure doesn't mean necessarily, oh, I took a cruise or I, climbed a mountain. Life is feeding yourself little treats, little adventures. I actually have this bowl. Maybe I'll show it to you guys next time. I call it my mini Whimsies. And it's a bowl just full of little things. And I draw one out every day. And it might just be dance to a song, sing an angry song, sing an empowering song. Or it might be narrate while you cook, like it's, I don't know, like you're on a YouTube channel, or like you're or like you're Julia Child or something. And so that's just a bowl of hundreds of these things. And every day I pull one out, and it might be have a candlelight dinner with myself. But whatever it is, it's a way to put many adventures in my life. It doesn't cost me anything. And I get tired really easily a lot. So, just some of them take 1 minute, some take 5 minutes. If I pick it up and I'm like, this is a little too much, I just pick another one. But the point is you create your momentum, you create your energy from the inside. Now, I am not dismissing the fact that the world out there is being real shitty to everyone right now. It is the turning point, right? Moving from, moving into the age of Aquarius. The Star, of course, the Aquarius card. I feel like with the Fool here, especially when I was talking about star energy earlier, we're seeing the conclusion of a cycle in your life where maybe you felt like you were in the fog and you're starting a new hope, new direction internally. Let's pull another card. Last one. Eight of Swords. And a clarifier for that. High Priestess. Okay. This is what I was thinking. So, it's interesting because this kind of matches the Kitsune deck, doesn't it? You feel bound. You feel trapped. You want to rise above that, right? You feel like you're gambling. You're giving someone else the power to dictate how you feel. And when you do that, you give someone else permission to become the master of your fate, right? Now, like I said, there are things that can happen in our lives that we have no control over. The only thing we can control is our inner journey, right? There could be earthquakes. There could be terrible things going on outside. You can't control that. These Luna moths here. Empowerment, strength, the wisdom. I picture once again that Empress energy sitting above the fray. This is the high priestess or the whirling goddess energy. Not just sitting above the fray, but peacefully observing it. Peacefully, through that peaceful observing, other people down in the field might look up and go, oh, I don't have to play either, do I? No. Wheel of Fortune. Circular, circular, dancing, dervishes, whirling, whirling, whirling. Your actions and your silence, in give and turn, can dictate how other people perceive you. And by tapping into that inner wisdom, you become the one who, in the face of hard things, you will be unafraid. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. That's what comes down. People will try to convince you that they took something from you, that you're not whole, that your soul is up for grabs. But they only get that power if you give them permission. Now, like I said, as children, we're taught things, and those things teach us to give away our power. But when we're old enough, the universe will give you signs, will give you opportunities to realize that your power is yours alone, and that at any moment you can reclaim it. Now, sometimes it takes a while to get your physical world to reflect that. If you've been mired in illusion for a long time, or you've been giving away your power for a long time. But it is beyond possible. With one little change a day, I said in the last video, Kaizen, one little change a day, focus on changing one thought pattern. If it's talking negative about yourself, that's not you. That's someone else's voice from 20 years ago. Right? You don't really hate yourself. Somebody hated themselves and projected that on you. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should hate myself too. No, that was their problem, not yours. Not your problem. You are the high priestess, the whirling goddess, the star. This is such an auspicious spread. You, my friend, are on the verge of a very large awakening. And I'm so glad, so grateful, Mystic Traveler, that I could be here to witness it. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.